My name is Clinton Myles. I'm from Mobile, Alabama. We grew up Baptist, which means that we were very, very close-knit. We all went to church, and church was important to us as much as God was important to us. My father was a deacon, and cleaning up the church on Saturdays also allowed me to listen to the piano and listen to the choir. And because I wanted to play piano, it was easier for me to be there at the same time. So I would sneak in and be sweeping along the hallway, and I would watch the piano player play. And then I would listen to him, and I realized that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to play piano. So one day when I was at work, this industrial plant, and that's where life kind of took a turn. About this time, I was about 20, 22, 23, so I was still at this place since I was about 18. The machines that I was working on in this industrial plant needed repairs. There was an industrial washer, and I had already put in a repair request for it. I was about 3 weeks old at this point, but I had to work on it anyway. This is something routine that we did every single day, you know, waiting for something to be fixed and hoping that we didn't get hurt or something. And when the door closed, the machine started, and I was actually in it when it happened. So I got a chance to pull one arm out, but not this one. It was really, really hard, and it was very painful for 25 seconds because the cycle of the machine is 25 seconds this way and then 25 seconds backwards. And it had a space between the shell and the cylinder, about this much space, so anything that didn't fit into it actually got carved off. And so when that happened, I just remember dangling, you know, by the machine and screaming for David to give me a hand, and that was the other guy that I was working with. And he came over, and he was shook. He was all shook up as well because he didn't know what to do. I just told him to unplug the machine. So I think he unplugged it from what I can remember, and then I was off the floor about 2 feet. And I didn't know that. And he was scared to try to help me, and I told him just call down and to the nurse's station, and that was on the other end of the plant, about, I don't know, 100 yards away, maybe. And by the time they made it down there, they came and helped me get my arm out of the machine. And when I turned it over, all I saw was my bond from my wrist all the way up to my arm. And it was not the easiest thing in the world to handle, at 23 years old. It's really, really hard. I didn't want to die. I was so mad. I was crying. And the nurse kind of freaked out a little bit. And literally, they had to put a towel in and put some ice in there and just kind of wrap it up. Took the ambulance all the way back to Mobile. And at this point, I think I remember when I came to for the first time, the doctor told me that I had literally died on the table once or twice. And I tell you, there's nothing like waking up, and waking up with your arm kind of sewn to your leg, with the bar going through my arm, and it's all jacked up and everything, and taking medications for the pain. And then they told me I had to do therapy afterwards, and that you had, 3 more surgeries to go. I think the hardest part that put me into depression is when the plant that where I worked, they called me in and told me they had worked out a deal for me without me even knowing about it. They wanted to give me $20,000 and raise my salary 4 cents, and I can work in the garbage shack for the, till I retire or something. I think sometimes it was just too much for me. And I literally tried to end my life because I didn't know what it was going to be like. And that didn't work because apparently Jesus had something else for me to do. God had another plan for me because he brought me back from, I'd like to say, death a second time. He literally rescued me from myself. I remember that through the whole time that I was never alone in this, because I remember that I grew up in church and that I always had Jesus. I always had Jesus. I knew that people were praying. I knew that, but somehow I knew I was safe in his arms. I knew that I was safe because I didn't die. And I think that was the hardest part for me, because I believed that he had something else that he wanted me to do, and I couldn't see that. I'm always inspired by his presence because it makes my life worth living. So I left Mobile and moved to Minnesota. From there, I joined a band. We were a road band, so we went on the road a lot, and we played a lot of places like Vegas and Tahoe and all of that. And I suppose that there was a calling in there somewhere, because we won the contest to go and play for the military. It was a 4-month stint. Got blessed into 4 years. We found a place to go to church, and we found this church like 2.5 blocks from us called Faith Covenant. Even when you're searching for what God wants you to do, you don't know that you're not already doing it. All of this time, I'm still a musician, but I have a regular day job now. And so everything that has happened to me up to this point, I believe is all part of his plan. I don't go to sleep or bed without thanking God for that day, because I could have been lost a long time ago. But I always remember from my young life in church that I have never walked alone. And wherever it takes me and wherever he leads me, that's where I like to go.